ゃあみんなと一緒ね。どうしたの？落ち着かないのね。
Okay, so I gotta be honest with you guys. This baby, he's too much for me. He's just too much.
遊べちゃうんだから。あれあるよ。ありがとう。これ。
これが世の中でね。
そうね。インプットは普段と変わらないの？
いいプログラムカードのようですね。
ありがとう。
急いでよ、お二人さん。
はい。記録テープは？
その左のボックスへ入れ。僕のエンジンが浮かれてやがる。
So your girl's finally out there catching a vibe, met someone, and completely unlikely in her case, and someone has to come and Kanye West interrupt it. So rude. So rude.
がこれまでだ。私を愚かと罵って構わぬ。
カナダ様。
バフクランの仲間。
下がりなさい。あの女を撃つのなら私を撃ってからなさい。
恩を売りつけたつもりでしょうが、感謝はしませんよ。
その方があなたらしいでしょうね。
This is purely a battle of the ages. A battle of attrition. According to the legend, they are still slapping the shit out of each other as we speak. So, you know, what kind of opening do we have here? Okay. So, you know, we're kind of vibing with this, you know what I mean? He has that nice little vibrato after each line. You know, he kind of has that at the end of each word. Okay, you know, it's kind of catchy, but completely deceptive on what kind of show it is. Similar to Puello Magi Madoka Magica. So I'm wondering, you know, like, what are we getting for the ending? Hey. Okay, I kind of like this. It's very, you know, it has a dated style to it and everything, but it's very nostalgic. At least to me it is. Maybe it's just me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I am Ryofu and you are watching The Gaming Harbinger. Now I know some of you saw that intro immediately out the gate and you're like, oh no, he's going to an old ass anime. And rest assured, I'll still cover, you know, a lot of the more current stuff. But this really caught my eye and I had to make a video about it. Okay, so I'm going to say something very un-YouTubey of me. But you know what? I really don't care. Don't you ever just like want to make a video because you saw something cool or you had a really cool idea and that's it. That's all there is to it. Well, that's what I'm doing here. I'm making this video because I want to make the video and that's that. So that means I really need your support on this one because it's probably not going to get picked up. Probably only a few people are going to watch it. And you know what? That's okay. I don't care. I'm in this for the long haul. And like I said, I saw this series, 39 episodes, I believe, and I really enjoyed it. You know, I really enjoyed it. And it was just one of those shows that's a classic and it just cannot be forgotten. And I just want to acknowledge it. So before I get into how I stumbled into this series, let me just give you a little background. Space Runaway Ideon originally released in 1980. It had a second run in Japan in 2006 on Animax. But in 2017, the streaming service High Dive picked up the series as an exclusive, which is, by the way, how I watch the series. It did have some physical releases, but all of them have been pretty limited and hard to find. The series was produced and directed by Yoshiyuki Tomino, the creator of Gundam. So to go a little more further into this, Yoshiyuki Tomino is one of those people that is notorious for killing off his characters. He originally, of course, made Mobile Suit Gundam first, and then shortly after, he made Space Runaway Ideon. Mobile Suit Gundam did not take off initially, but however, once the toy line came out, then the series exploded. So Space Runaway had a similar situation to Mobile Suit Gundam. Ratings for the show were really low, and as a result, Space Runaway was cut down and had to kind of end suddenly. So they kind of rushed the ending of the series, and it's unfortunate because it would have been very interesting to see where it would have went to, how, what directions it would have took. But we ended up with 39 episodes. So Space Runaway and Mobile Suit Gundam most certainly have their similarities. We're talking about young people coming to terms with the tragedies of war. We're talking about giant mechas. Okay, so here's my story on how I came across this series. Okay, so there was a meme apparently made at some point, and at least the one that I came across, it was called Don't Get Distracted, Pay Attention. And pretty much what you see is someone young in stature is standing next to an adult, and they see half of a body fly past them. Everybody's in spacesuits, and this GIF or GIF, if you prefer, is like 1.5 seconds, maybe 2 seconds, and it's literally you see the body come flying past this young person in stature, and the young person watches the body fly by, bounces off the ground, and in that split second, boom, a blast hits her head, and the head is decimated. It is gone, and the body is still there. And it just kind of, that's pretty much it. That's all there is to it. And, me being into anime as long as I have, I'm pretty sure this is like from the early 80s. But this is kind of disturbing. I was like, this is kind of disturbing. This is too much for me. But it really piqued my curiosity. I had to know what disgusting show would do such a thing. I had to know what it was. And I became curious, and I did a little digging, and then I was able to find out that it was Space Runaway Ideon that came out in 1980. So despite the age of this TV series, the show takes place pretty far into the future. At this point, mankind has already been colonizing other planets. In 2300, an archaeology dig discovers alien technology. While this discovery happened with humans as we know them, a different type of humans known as the Buff Clan are also seeking out this technology. Just to keep this not too confusing, there's the humans that, as we know humans as, and that's us, and then there's the Buff Clan. But the interesting thing is, going back to what I said earlier, the Buff Clan are essentially humans. They just come from a different place. There's like slight, small differences, but essentially they look like humans. And that is one of the dynamics in the show that is really interesting, especially early in the series, where there's some miscommunication and characters not even realizing that there's enemies nearby because they look like humans. So while the humans have the quote-unquote Ide, as the Buff Clan calls it, there seems to be myths and legends that the Buff Clan are familiar with, but really they don't have anything tangible in terms of understanding what the Ide or what Ideon is. With that being said, however, the humans are kind of just as clueless. Even though they're the ones controlling the ship, they really don't know what they're doing. They're kind of guessing, and then once tensions build up and stuff's happening, it's really more reactionary, like the giant mecha is just reacting on their emotions, and things just tend to work out in their favor. That's really what essentially happens, at least in the beginning of the series. As I said before, in some of the early episodes, there's moments of miscommunication, within both sides and people not even realizing they're talking to an alien. And to be honest with you, these are some of my favorite episodes that are within the series because, you just don't know how people are going to react. And then there's just misconceptions and misunderstandings and even misunderstandings of what a white flag is. Just, it's all pretty amusing stuff.
見慣れない顔だな。今日の第三次移民戦でついたものか。地球じゃそんなファッションが流行ってんのか。
Okay, so I want to take a moment to talk about the animation. So I personally feel like for the time frame and everything, I think it looks solid, and I think it's completely disingenuous, and you're lame if you want to sit up here and laugh and poke and gloat on blemishes in the animation or because of how dated it looks or whatever. You're lame. You're a cornball for that. I think for the time it looks good, and it's definitely representative of the styles and everything, what was popular during that time. So I like it. Of course, obviously, it's not going to be for everyone. It's probably going to be more for people that have been into anime for a long time and they're curious about the older stuff. So a lot of people, yeah, this is definitely not going to appeal to them. So digging a little more into the animation side.
いえ、これはただの脅しではないぞ。喋らん気か。ユーロピアがやられた。
博士、どうしたの？何が起こっているんだ？知りません。あの円盤がいきなり。デスドライブブレーキ！了解！バカな。俺はまだ。
I don't know what the rules or laws were in Japan around this time, but I'm very curious if maybe they had some kind of law where maybe you couldn't show a death longer than 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds, because it seems like the show delivers quite a bit of death in a short amount of time. Even though it's not gruesome, or hyper violent, I would still say that this show, the way it handles violence is kind of cold, and there is a darkness to it. There is a dark tone to it all, and I'll give you a few examples. So pretty early on in the series where you see a pilot and a co-pilot, they're flying in their plane and they're laughing and happy about getting their first kill ever. And then I think one of the guys even says, "I did it, Mom." And then shortly after that, you see a spray of bullets hit the cockpit, and then one guy gets hit in the head with the bullet and his eyes roll in the back of his head. Now, like that description, it sounds like really dark, you know what I mean? It sounds, a little disturbing. It really does. It sounds disturbing. When I'm telling you that, you're probably also thinking, well, that's not as violent as like a dismemberment or someone getting decapitated, because that's what we think of in terms of like what's violent now. But back then, like when I'm thinking about seeing something like this, I'm like, whoa, that's kind of rough. You have the humans, you have the Buff Clan, they're fighting each other. The humans might go to another planet and try to escape the Buff Clan for a little while. And there are other humans habitating here and living, they're walking around and stuff. And then here comes the Buff Clan chasing after the humans. In typical shows, in normal shows, you will see, people screaming and running away. And then not in this show, no. It's like, no, that's not enough. We have to show the Buff Clan mechas walking around and stepping on people. It's like, why? Why? Was that necessary? Did you have to do that to me? Do you have to torture me this way? So we see them stepping on humans. We see them stray bullets hitting innocent people, all kinds of stuff like that. Like I said, it may not be gruesome or hyper violent, but you are seeing innocent people just being killed. And and also to add more to that, to add more comfort to you, there is a scene in the same scene that I'm thinking of. There's another segment where you see a little girl in an apartment with her puppy, and she picks up her puppy, and then you can see in the window there is this Buff Clan mecha that just turns around and then just fires a blast, hitting the building that this child is in, completely vaporizing her and her puppy. And it's like, was that necessary? You know, why are you doing this to me? This is some torture. What is this? What are we doing here? And yeah, it's it can be a bit much at times, but you know, the delivery is, like I said, there's a coldness to it, and it's not a coldness like in a way like we're just killing people for killing people. There's a coldness in the sense of these things are just tragedies of war. It's just stuff that's happening. And it's not even that the Buff Clan are ruthless and they just want to kill everything. They're trying to get to the humans so they can get the Ide. And that's really all there is. And then the humans, of course, are trying to defend themselves. But it really isn't that, you know, the humans are sloppy and they're not helping the other humans that are getting killed accidentally. It's nothing like that. It's like, it's showing it to you in a way where these things are just happening. Actually, in my personal opinion, one of the most fascinating characters is Cheryl, and she is a scientist that ends up aboard the Soul Ship and, you know, has been studying it since the archaeology dig. But she's also one of the characters that really isn't respected, and also her work is definitely not respected. But because of her, I guess you could say, her personality, her amazing personality, she comes off a little cold, distant, I guess you could say. So pretty much all the other people aboard the Soul Ship, they don't really care for her. Even the soldiers don't really care for her.
姉さん、アシュラが泣いてるの？リン、子供たちをブリッジに入れてはいけないって言ったはずでしょ？何その顔は？子供たちをここに入れたことは謝るわ。でもね、姉さん、あの子たちも両親を亡くしたのよ。もう少し優しくしてあげてもいいんじゃない？私たちは子供の相手をしているわけにはいかないのよ。早く引き上げさせて。ごめんなさいね。
Why I feel like she's one of the most fascinating characters. You get to see so many different changes in her. She starts as this, you know, very serious scientist. And like I said, in a lot of cases, isn't respected. Kind of wanting to leave the ship, wanting to get away from these people, wanting to even get away from the Ide, I guess you could say. And then changes from her experiences with the people on the ship, plus, you know, some of the bad luck she has. And it kind of softens her up a bit, and I guess you could say makes her more human. But then as time goes on, she starts losing people close to her. And what happens is, you know, over time, pretty much what we're experiencing is a complete deterioration of a character. And yeah, I'm saying it that way, like it's fascinating, but it's also, you know, it is kind of dark. You know, it's super sad and disturbing. But I find it an interesting journey. So you do have your arbitrary 14-year-olds. You have Cosmo, and then you also have Kasha. Asuka from Evangelion is the reincarnation of Kasha from Ideon. I think I understand now. I think I understand. Very similar in personality. Rambunctious girls for sure, but really Cosmo is nothing like Shinji, so we're gonna shut that down now. I did learn from doing research on this series that actually Evangelion was influenced by Ideon, which is very interesting, you know, and I definitely can see aspects of that for sure. So Bess Jordan is the leader of the ship, and very serious man, you know, very caring individual. However, when the series first starts, there's parts of him where you're like, what kind of person is he? I'm kind of confused. And that is because when he first interacts with Cheryl, he's kind of disrespectful towards her and does not take her seriously at all.
シェリルさん、あんたの専門は
言語学です。
技術者を呼ぶんだ。このメカを調べさせろ。資料は提供してくれるんだろうな。
やむを得ないわね。
こっちはわけのわからん敵とも戦わにゃならんだぞ。
Now, with that being said, when he interacts with Carla, you know, the love interest, and he sees her for the first time, oh boy definitely likes what he sees. Hey.
カララ味がいい男。
こりゃどうも。あんたみたいな美人からそう言われるのは嬉しいが、今はデートはできないんだ。ここをまっすぐ行けばニューロピアの近道だ。危ないから帰った方がいいぞ。
In fact, I think it can kind of be misleading. Like if you only watched the first couple of episodes, you would probably think this is how Best Jordan is. But then once you actually see a lot more of the series, you realize he likes Carla. He immediately liked her since day one. So it kind of brings a different side of him out. And it's kind of funny. I would describe Carla as just kind of naive, but also just sweet, caring, your typical love interest in an anime. Pretty early into the series, you know, you kind of see her wanting to fly towards the eye just because she is very curious and wanting to learn about these other type of humans. She wants to learn more about the eye. It fascinates her. And you can tell she's just one of those type of people that she's just a very, very curious individual. And that's how she ends up interacting with the humans. And there's also a slew of other characters that are on the Soul Ship, and really all of them do a good job of playing their role in the story. Even the ones that have much smaller roles, they all have an impact. So there's a point in the series, probably around the middle point, where you can tell the humans are still completely clueless on how to control the giant robot, and they're just kind of fumbling around. Someone gets emotional and then ta-da, they're miraculously saved. And in some cases, I mean, the robot just completely decimates anything in its path. And then other times it almost feels like it's working against them, like keeping them from using power or using all of its strength. And then when things get really bad, then that's when all the power and all the destruction happens. This kind of causes the passengers on board to think to themselves, well, maybe the robot is sentient. And this concludes within the series in a very interesting way. I know that's kind of a vague statement, but I don't want to ruin it for the small percentage of people that will actually watch it. Okay, so now because of the age of the show, I understand, like I said, some people had criticisms on, you know, blemishes in the animation and corny stuff like that. But to be fair, I will point out some criticisms I do have, or maybe it's something I overlooked. It's something that's not actually a flaw and I overlooked this. But so two things. The first thing is there's a segment, like I mentioned earlier in the review, that you see there's a language barrier. So the humans are not understanding the Buff Clan and vice versa. What's weird is that there's a certain point within the series, I won't say which characters, but there's certain characters that end up on a Buff Clan ship and there's no language barrier anymore. And it's like, what just happened? I'm totally confused now. I thought there was a language barrier. Now there is not a language barrier. And then we get to a certain point at the end of the series and even at the end of the movie, all of a sudden there's a language barrier again. And I'm like, okay, I'm confused now. First this was at the beginning of the series, this was an issue. Now it's like, put in the Raycon earbuds. Now no one has issues. And I don't know if everybody has Raycon earbuds, maybe not. And now all of a sudden, everybody understands each other. And then all of a sudden we get to the very end. Now we're back to nobody understands each other. Doesn't happen enough to where it just completely takes you out of the situation, you know? So to me, this did not like ruin, you know, a major plot point or anything like that. But it's something small and insignificant in the grand scheme of things. However, I would like to, if I missed this by accident, just let me know in the comments section, and maybe this was explained, or they're like, oh no, there was a part where it's deciphering and everybody got one on the ship. Everybody, you know, and everybody wears them at all times. And it just so happened when those two characters were on the ship, they were wearing them at that time. You just weren't paying attention. And I'd be like, okay, you got me. So my second criticism would probably be that there's parts definitely where it's a little repetitious. It's that time again to show the fight. Okay, we show the fight. There's fighting, there's action, there's the giant robot. Oh no, it's powering down. What do we do now? And then at the last minute, boom, the mecha destroys whoever they're fighting on this particular episode. And then they go to the next episode. And then the next episode, you know, they're traveling around trying to figure out stuff. Oh, here's a planet over here. Let's go there. We'll be safe for a little while. And then of course something happens. And then, you know, the other humans that are living there, they're like, get off this damn planet. You're bringing them to us. And then there's this conflict, and that doesn't happen every single episode, but you get what I'm saying. There's definitely some repetition in the writing, but I think, like I said, this is more a testament of the time than it's really like, is it bad writing, or you're trying to extend something and you're telling, you know, a long overarching story. I think at that same time, you know, there's gonna be repetition in there. So just in case if you aren't aware, I do want to say that there is gonna be a part 2 to this. And so the thing behind this is that I decided, I kind of mulled over this quite a bit, but I am going to make a second video. We're going to go over the Be Invoked Space Runaway Ideon. And it's gonna be very different from any other anime review I've done. And the reason why is because this is the type of movie that I can't get away from talking about the spoilers. So we're gonna spoil our way into oblivion. That's pretty much what we're doing here. Even if you never watched Space Runaway Ideon, now you have a better understanding of just how dark anime can be, even when it's not so gruesome. Take care. I'll see you in the next video.